So authentic self versus social self. Your authentic self is your soul, your spirit, your true essence, who you came into the world as. It speaks to you in stillness. It speaks to you through music, through symbols, through art. It is really at the core the essence of who you are. And we have our social self. Our social self is who we become once we're born, right? It says what religion you're going to be. It says what's appropriate socially. It's what says it's how you sit appropriately in your seat right now, right? It's like if you were at home, totally relaxed, you wouldn't be sitting upright with your legs nicely crossed, right? You'd be like lounged out in bed, like chilling. That's my point. That's your social self. You know socially this is an acceptable way to sit in this meeting room. It's those type of things. But the social self can often be misaligned with the authentic self, and I'll demonstrate it with a story. Because we have to have our social self. That's how we function in society. That's what allows us to do what we do. But living as just your social self, that's a very shallow place in life to be. You might be avoiding pain, but there's also no deep meaning either in that area. So my daughter came into this world an animal lover. She's 23 now, but a total animal lover from the minute she was mobile, could talk. As a matter of fact, if any of you have had the second child and the toddler mimics you when you feed the baby, like they go get their baby doll and they feed the baby. No, my daughter went and I breastfed. My daughter would never pick up a baby doll. She would pick up a stuffed monkey, she'd probably die if she knew I was telling you this, a stuffed monkey or a teddy bear. Literally, she'd hike her shirt up and put the little stuffed animal on her nipple, right? I was kind of like, oh my, but anyway, my point is she has a love for animals. She started horseback riding at 8 or 9, and she rode American saddlebreds, American saddle seat. It's a Kentucky tradition. They wear the big top hats and the tails, and the horses have like 5 different beautiful gaits. And she totally connected with the horses. She loved it. Like that was her essential self. Her social self loved it because she loved being center ring. She loved the attention of being center ring. That was her thing. She loved the blue ribbon. She loved, that camaraderie with the other girls. So that was her social self, and her authentic self was the animals. When she was about 14, she realized how these horses were trained, because we always leased horses. We never bought horses and trained them. And she realized the horrific things they did to these horses to make them do this in 5 different ways. Right? They would put icy hot or Bengay on their arm, and then they'd wrap them really tightly, and the sensation would make them, from very young ages, but it would actually blister them, right? You'll see scars on these horses. They would attach chains from here to here that would also make them, they would put really big heavy things on their feet, so that would make them want to try and do this, and they would attach chains to make their heads arch, right? All for our human viewing pleasure. Well, I really have to give her credit, because as she realized, I love the horses. I love them. Like, I love being there. I love being with the horses. I love showing them. She goes, I can't condone them, and I just can't ride anymore, which I really give her credit. So she brought her social self in alignment with the authentic self. Does that make sense? And the part up here about wounded is, when we're born, we are all wounded, right? We all go through, there's various degrees, but we're all wounded, right? Where we didn't get what we needed from our parents, we were shamed in some way by somebody in authority or a teacher, and where we told we weren't supposed to play big, right? And we were wounded. And those wounds are supposed to happen, because usually that's your way home when you heal that, and that's usually part of your gift to the world. Some cases, all of your gift. So when I say your gift to the world, and how do you know what it is, and how do you know how to find it? It's where you play small. It's where you have fear. It's what you're resisting. Because fear and resistance are your best compass to know exactly where you're supposed to be going in life. Truly. It's where you flow. It's where you flow in life. It's when something, it's just something that keeps coming up. And it's something you got to look at. Because what we resist persists. If you want to know more about the social self versus essential self, this is Martha Beck's work, and she's really quite fabulous. She was a Harvard business PhD. She taught at the business school at Harvard, very left brain person, right? Very high. That academia world is very different when you're at that level. And she just one day said, this is not who I am. I am going to be a life coach. This is before life coach was even coined, right? And she went out and ventured out. And she's pretty woo-woo, right? Like she'd been spoons with her mind. And this is a Harvard business PhD. So her work's pretty fascinating. And I so enjoyed seeing the scientific and more of what I'll call the woo-woo brought together.